Welcome to Season 2 of the Erotic Realm podcast. I'm Em, a sexologist, erotic psychology researcher, and nerd obsessed with psychosexuality. I'm also a 24/7 kinkster. So far, the Erotic Realm in Season 1 was completely dedicated to exploring kink. So the first season had many kinksters, including professional kinksters, come and share their erotic psychology one erotic realm at a time. At the end of 2025, I asked you, the listeners, what you would like to see more of on the erotic realm. And the feedback was clear. You want more sexperts, as well as continued erotic realm sharing from kinksters. So in Season 2 of the Erotic Realm, you can expect to hear from more sexperts. I hope you enjoy listening to Season 2 just as much as you've enjoyed listening to Season 1. The Erotic Realm is growing rapidly. There's so many of you listening now, and it has gone beyond my wildest dreams, and I'm looking forward to seeing where Season 2 takes us. If you'd like to go deeper into my work, you can find everything I'm doing, including articles, surveys, psychology of desire case files, and the newly announced Desire Salon membership at psychologyofdesire.com. The Desire Salon is a monthly meeting where you can join me for a live exploration of everything to do with desire. I hope to see you there. And now for today's episode. The following episode explores submission not as passivity, but as an expression of strength, discernment, and self-trust. In this conversation, I'm joined by AngelSnowflake, a collared submissive, Brat, and paradox embodied erotic thinker, to explore what it means to live an erotic identity that refuses simplification. We talk about fluid sexuality, chosen submission, and why surrender only works when it is earned. We explore deeply the psychology of Brattiness, the meaning of collars from the inside out, and the surprising parallels between kink and role-playing worlds like Dungeons and Dragons. This is a conversation about ethical power, ongoing consent, and how strength and surrender don't cancel each other out. They refine each other. Enjoy. Hi everyone, and welcome to the Erotic Realm. Today we are here together exploring the erotic realm of Snow. Welcome, Snow.
Thank you.
Happy to have you here. So before we step into your eroticism, we just want to hear a little bit about your day-to-day life. What are you generally up to, and what are your interests and hobbies outside of kink?
So, I'm kind of an introverted extrovert, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind being by myself, but I do like groups of people. I like people watching actually, but it's just a thing for me. I mean, other than that, I cooking, baking. I do some writing. I'm a huge gamer, D&D and video and computer games.
Cool.
I love to read. I told somebody once that books are my drug.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, trying new things. I mean, within reason, I have no problem trying anything once. I kind of just like learning how to do something or like diving down a rabbit hole that could possibly turn into like a rabbit warren where I could just get lost for days or weeks within reason again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. So there's quite a big crossover between kinky people and the D&D world, I've noticed. Do you think that that's
Yeah.
because of the role-playing aspect, or is there more to it than that?
I mean, I think maybe a little bit of that could be a crossover. I've actually certain D&D games, you then find out that people are into kink, and other ones you're like you're in the kinky thing, and then you're like, oh yeah, I do this. And they're like, oh really? I do too. Um, I've participated in. I was not the one running the game. We did a not safe for work D&D game.
Mm-hmm.
So there was lots of kinky stuff going on in that game. And it was just, people are like, oh my God, you can do that. Like, I mean, why couldn't you? And they're like, well, yeah, I guess if you're comfortable enough with the people, you could. So I've actually done a game where it was completely the crossover.
That sounds amazing. I haven't heard of that before. That sounds so cool.
A lot of people haven't, and even people who've been playing D&D for, decades, they've never heard of it. And they're like, I have to do this. We have to do this again. It's like, all
Hmm.
right, let me know when.
So, how did that compare to a standard BDSM session? What were the differences and similarities?
So the one I played, we did online through, we were actually on Discord. So we did it through video and through obviously voice. Um, Certain stuff, I mean, because again, we were in a not safe for work video thing, so everybody's over the age of consent and following all of those rules and stuff. I mean, a couple people definitely were playing on the video. It was, you know, fun to watch, if that makes sense. They
Hmm.
had a blast with it. The role playing was very cerebral because obviously it's with D&D, it's although you have a board, you can have players, a lot of it is mental. Like you can see what's happening, what's going on. You can imagine the monsters or the characters and the settings. So I thought it was a blast.
Hmm. Yeah, that sounds really fun. I'd love to be a voyeur to that game. That would be really interesting.
We had a few people, they're like, I've never played before, but can I just watch or
Yeah.
listen?
Hmm.
So we had quite a few. And then they're like, okay, I get it. Can we play the next one?
Hmm. Oh, well, if you ever do it again, let me know. I'd love to. I'd love to watch a little bit. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so let's dive deeper into the kink world. When it comes to your erotic realm, can you tell us how you best describe your sexuality and kinky self?
Um, with sexuality, again, I put this in the application. I would go with the umbrella term like abrosexual and sapiosexual. I'm kind of fluid in that. I don't really differentiate. It's kind of like a people are people. I really don't care who, or how they see themselves kind of a thing. It's just I'm more about the mind and everything else will or won't follow kind of a thing. So
Mm.
yeah,
Hmm. So you mentioned, was it
if that makes sense.
yeah, 100%. You mentioned abrosexual, was it? I don't think we've had that term much
Yeah,
on the podcast. I haven't seen it used a lot. So for people that might not know what abrosexual is it ABRO?
yeah.
Yeah, can you describe a little
So
bit about it?
abrosexual is
Mm-hmm.
it's like fluid or changeable. You kind of fluctuate between different sexualities or all of the sexualities. I mean, there's no real like how do you kind of just move through them. So like for me, like omni, poly, pan, and bisexual, to me they're kind of all the same thing
Mm.
with slightly different verbiage. So I mean, because they are the attraction to more than one, many, or all genders, or regardless of gender. So it's kind of a some people like to pick specific ones. I don't like boxes. I should say that. I really don't
Mm-hmm.
like boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Some people like that specificness, but to me, they're kind of, again, all the same with just slightly different verbiage to them. Abrosexual is kind of one where, like, you could fluctuate between, like, the omni, the bi, the hetero. Um, you're just sort of fluid with the people, kind of a thing.
Mm.
Does
Mm-hmm.
that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it really does.
And
So,
then
mm-hmm.
sapiosexual is the attraction to like intelligence or the
Mm.
brain. It prioritizes. I don't know if I like that word, but it's I'm attracted to what's in your head, not what you are physically,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
kind of a thing.
Yeah. So you're very fluid in your sexuality and your attraction. Have you noticed what kind of context or people bring out different sides of your sexuality or attraction? Or is it always kind of an adventure for you and you're not sure where you're going to land with a certain person or in a certain context?
So that one's kind of hard for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Again, because it's more like the mind for me. Like there's people where like walking down the street, you can just go, oh, they're hot, but there's
Mm.
nothing behind it. It's just that physical reaction. There's other people that I have no problem sitting down. I can have a 4 hour conversation with them about something, but there is nothing past that.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like um, I need that intellectual connection before anything else can happen, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And do you
If
feel
that
like,
makes sense.
yeah. And do you feel like this is the way that you've always been in terms of what you're attracted to? Or do you feel like it's something that you've grown into as you've matured? Has it been a process of revelation for you or just how you've always been, do you feel?
I mean, on the sapiosexual side, I kind of feel like I've always been that way. I've always been drawn to the kids that are smarter than me in class, or um, the teachers who don't just stick to the curriculum, but give you like a broader picture. So
Mm.
they give you like the different choices or different viewpoints, or like if you've ever taken a speech or a debate class, you don't always play the pro side. Sometimes you have to make people believe that you are completely against something that is totally against your way of thinking.
Mm.
But in doing that, you can see the other side of situations. So I feel like I've always kind of been drawn to intelligence.
Mm.
With the fluctuation, again, I've always had more guy friends than girlfriends, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like platonically. Um, I don't usually get along well with girls or women. Some of them, and again, I'm going to generalize here in my experience, some of them are just nitpicky and catty. And I don't like a lot of the backstabbing that comes along with
Mm-hmm.
women.
Mm-hmm.
And that's whether they're trans in the process of cis or however one wants to describe them. It's there's some I've had some very, very gay male friends who I would put in that same category. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
no, 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 I'm not in the mood for you today.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So I've
Mm-hmm.
never really, again, somebody isn't attractive to me just because of one particular thing. I like the whole package, basically.
Mm. Mm-hmm. And I just want to go into the rejecting labels a little bit because this is really interesting for some people to hear. So some people are really comfortable with labels and other people like yourself reject them. Why do you think that is? What has refusing these boxes and these labels given you?
Um, I think that might be part of how I was raised or where I was raised. Um, as you can tell, I'm from America. Um, the area where I grew up, I don't know how to politically correctly say this. Um, I was the minority where I grew up, so I've seen the other side of um, discrimination, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't like being put in, and I do so many different things that when somebody goes, "Oh, you're a this," and I'm like, "No, I mean I kind of, but not really."
Right.
I played more male sports than female sports. I played tennis growing up. I got kicked out of the girl class and got sent to the boy class because I chose not to do a two-handed backhand, which, according to the instructor, is the only way girls can hit a backstroke.
Oh, I haven't heard that before.
Kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like you point out, well, professionals use a one-handed backhand. Why can't I? But she was of that generation that this is how women did things and this is how men did things,
Mm.
that she just couldn't deal with me, basically. Um, I guess I like to think of myself as like a starburst, or um like there's a center to me, the basic general meanness, and then I've got like spikes that stick out, or fingers in different pies kind of a concept. I'm not one specific thing. I Because I like doing so many different things, and because I enjoy different things that basically make me a contradiction. I don't feel like I fit into any one particular box. I'm more star shaped.
Mm. Okay.
Like I tell people that all the time, and they're like, "No, that makes sense. I think I am too." So
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those, when you point this out to some people, they're like, "I don't want to fit in my box. I want to be like that."
Mm. So are you fluid in your gender as well?
Um, like how I see myself.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say that I'm fluid in gender.
Mm-hmm.
I am perfectly happy being a woman,
Mm-hmm.
born and raised kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
I mean,
fascinating.
again, I play male sports, but I don't know how to phrase that again. There was a time when when women who were more masculine were accused of, again, for lack of better wording, having penis envy. I've never
Mm.
been that way. I've never wanted one. People who have them are great. People who want them, there's nothing wrong with that. That's how you feel. That's how you see yourself. I think that's great. And people who can do that and become who they want to be, I think is absolutely fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
I just like male sports. I like male stuff, and I'm perfectly happy with my parts.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Very well said. So let's talk about your kinky self a little bit more. What would you say are your top 3 kinks? For example, if I said you could only explore 3 kinks forever, what would they be and why?
Oh, three. See, and this is another one that, like, I would put myself in the umbrella category of, I'm definitely a submissive. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
like, born and raised just a natural submissive. Um, if that has to be one of them, then I mean, I don't know. Brat would definitely be in there. I'd say masochist would definitely be in there. Um, and then there's two that some people kind of don't consider or haven't considered, which would be like the alpha submissive, or it's called like the ninja or the warrior princess submissive. One of those would have to be in there as well if I could only pick three.
Mm-hmm. I've heard the warrior princess submissive before. That was from a particular author, am I correct? I think I read it in a book.
Yeah. I actually got it online, from, at least this gentleman's opinion. I actually wrote this down in case you asked.
Mm.
Michael Mackey is who I got it from. It was from warriorprincesssub.com.
Mm-hmm.
But I absolutely loved his definition of this. And I'm just like, yes, that, I like that. I could do that.
Do you have the definition handy there?
Yeah, I wrote it down. Do you want me to read it?
Yes, please.
Okay, so this is obviously his quote word for word. Um, the warrior princess is the one that is wicked smart, strong willed, uber competent, ultra competitive, synergistic, switchy, and a crusader. I'm going to use the term she because that's how he did. She's no one's doormat, never a victim. She's a kick-ass submissive. This definitely isn't a woman in a precarious predicament waiting helplessly for her white knight to arrive and slay a dragon for her. This was a woman who, as she is kicking the dragon's ass, smiles at the white knight standing on the sideline and says, "Hey, buddy, feel free to jump right in and lend your sword to this fight. Otherwise, stay the hell out of my way." The warrior princess doesn't need or want a rescuer. They need an ally, and she can rely upon in the chaos of battle. She seeks a warrior equal to the tasks, and she has already chosen for herself and is demonstrably capable of accomplishing with or without his help. She's willing and able to fight the good fight alone, but welcomes the notion of having a worthy partner fighting by her side. And yet, when the day's fighting is done, she's perfectly at ease with considering herself entirely his heart, might, mind, body, and soul. Why is she so important? She's important because she just may be the hope and salvation of this lifestyle. There will come a day in the not too distant future when the warrior princess submissive will be forced to become a combatant in a highly politicized war on the BDSM lifestyle. It will be a propaganda war that characterizes all dominants as abusers and all submissives as victims of
Mm.
abuse or exploitive relationships. When she comes out of the shadows and chooses to fight for this lifestyle instead of against it, as many of her contemporaries will expect her to do, her strong moral compass will reassure those on the sidelines that she is doing what is right and just. So
Wow.
again, I could not have reworded that and gotten all the points across, and I have to give him props for that.
It's very well said. So, what about it in particular stands out to you?
um, the not needing somebody,
Mm.
but it's one of those, I don't want you to stand in front of me and protect me. I don't want you to stand behind me so I have to protect you. I want you to stand next to me and fight with me. I want that partner kind of a thing. So that sort of spoke to me. And then obviously with BDSM and the lifestyle is kind of a, I could be that person that comes out and goes, no, that's not what we are. I am this and it's not that. And I kind of, by learning and educating myself, I can help educate other people, which then basically does that. It shows that it's not a abuser and abusive relationship. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So, is that something that you've had to fight against in your personal life or with people around you?
Um, I wouldn't necessarily have had to fight it per se yet. Um, Explaining it to people who don't really know,
Mm.
or um, people who get the wrong idea based upon books, movies, or other things that are out there that they can watch, like videos on YouTube and stuff. Um, so some people are kind of like, hey, you're kind of into this. How does this actually work? Like, is it this, that, or the other? And then, obviously I can clear up misconceived notions of what it is.
Mm-hmm. And
So
what
it's more of
about,
an educational thing than a fighting thing, I guess.
yeah. So, what about yourself when you first entered the BDSM world or discovered kink? Did you have this idea internally that submission was a passive process and had to unlearn that? Or did you always have this
Um,
sense of these two sides of yourself?
wow. Um, I I've kind of been skirting the line of the lifestyle since I was, I don't know, 13, 14, 15. Um, I ran across, and I don't remember where I was. I was in some library somewhere. I ran across Anne Rice's Sleeping Beauty trilogy,
Mm-hmm.
and definitely not something that, again, where I grew up, a 13 to 15-year-old should be reading. But my parents were kind of the stand back and watch type of parents. So I read things that were definitely outside of age appropriate, but my parents didn't care. So it was, I just read whatever I wanted to read and kind of just gathered all of that stuff. So I've known about the lifestyle, um, probably far longer than others have. I didn't really start dipping my toes in until after during my divorce, slightly after my divorce, because I actually started looking into it to be it now that I'm getting out of a horrible 10-year relationship. But that's when I realized that like the submissiveness, I've kind of always naturally been submissive. I've always naturally wanted to take care of the people in my life, the people in my house. I've always enjoyed doing, like, I put on there the service and the household submissive. I've always enjoyed doing the cooking and the cleaning, the laundry, um, doing the grocery shopping kind of a thing. I was a housewife for 10 years. So I sort of naturally just fell into that role. It's what I wanted to do. When you're in school and they go, what do you want to be when you grow up? And my answer was always, I want to be a mom and a housewife. I want to
Mm-hmm.
raise my kids and take care of my husband, kind of a thing. So to me, it's just a natural thing. It's like an everyday thing. I don't really fully differentiate between the two. I mean, the sexual stuff, obviously, I keep mostly in the bedroom. Um, but like other stuff, I feel like it bleeds into everyday life. Like I can have a bratty moment in the middle of a grocery store.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like they're just, I don't know, out of the cookies I want that day. And I'm just gonna throw a tantrum right there in the middle of the grocery store. And sometimes it's a tantrum in my head, but my partner will attest to the fact that I think we were looking for Nesquik, to be honest, which I didn't get introduced to until I met my partner. And we were on vacation somewhere, and I'd forgotten to bring the little can of Nesquik with us. So we went to a grocery store, and they were completely sold out. And I flipped out. And he's just like, "Are you?" And then when we were going through the checkout, we had like, I don't know, the weirdest stuff. And I was like, I think I was still kind of upset about the Nesquik thing, but I found a Cadbury egg that I'd never had one before. So I was kind of like also in this weird giddy mode. And he didn't tell me this until after, but apparently the checkout clerk looked at me funny and he just went, "She's pregnant," which I wasn't. But he's like, it was just the easiest way to make them, like the
Mm-hmm.
weird things on our that we were buying, and you're just like giddiness over this chocolate egg. Like I just that was the easiest thing to do. It's like, all right, I can't even be mad at you. It makes sense. So it's to me they sort of all bleed and like bleed together. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
um, so it's yeah, I don't really. They're daily things for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand. I wanted to ask you a little bit about, so you've mentioned that you've been on quite a journey in terms of your relationships. You said that you were
Hmm.
married and then divorced and then entered the kink world more actively after that divorce. And you've also
Hmm.
mentioned that you have a partner now. So can you take us through that process of what that was like? So you've just recently divorced and now you're deciding to explore the kink world. What was that looking like and how did you meet your partner?
So I'd actually met my partner before my divorce. We met online through, I don't even remember which platform. It was either Discord or there was one called Line. I'm not entirely sure which one I actually met him on, but he was already in the process of getting divorced. Um, so it was kind of that friend sounding board. With my work schedule, I was up until, because we weren't even in the same country at that point. I was kind of up when it was daytime for him, essentially because of my work schedule. So I was that easy call if he needed to work through something or he found something and he just needed to vent, kind of a concept.
Right.
Um, then when my marriage basically ended, he kind of did that for me as well. And again, his divorce was still going on. Mine took 3 months from start to finish. I think his took like 5 years. Um, so we were just like that sounding board, that friend, other people on the platform towards him were kind of like, "Ooh, hi, I like you. Can I?" And he was just like, "No, no, no, I don't want anything. You can stay over there, stay on your side of the line." And this is one of those times that I was completely happy with my box. I'm in a box. I am in the friend zone box. I'm not going to leave the box because this is what you need. There wasn't anything sexual, physical. There we had an emotional attachment. He is super smart, so there was the intelligence of it as well. Which is also a funny story on how we actually started talking. But it was I had no problem staying in my box. Now, neither of us can actually say when it happened, where it happened, how it happened, but we were in a group chat and people were just like, "Okay, the two of you need to go find somewhere private and just deal with all of this tension that is clearly between you." We're like, "Huh?" Like it had to be pointed out to us that we'd gone from friends to flirting, and
Mm.
I wasn't really talking to other people in that way anymore. And I didn't even notice I had stopped doing it. But he'd done the same. I mean, he never really was talking to people in that way, but he started talking to me that way. And neither of us actually saw it. Like it was just natural for us. It was just we fell into it, I guess, would be the best way to put that. So, yeah, and it's been a ride ever since, but it's been a fun ride.
So did you know that he was kinky, or was that something that you discovered over time?
Um, I think that was kind of a conversation at the beginning. It was part of something else, or it might have been like I was in a group call with somebody else talking about it. And he popped in, and then it was, "Oh, hey, you're looking at this, that, and the other," and well, I'm kind of this, that, and the other, and it was so then it was kind of just the conversations grew from there, if that makes sense. So it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
really, "Hey, I'm this, are you?" kind of a thing. It was again, it just sort of the conversation happened.
Mm-hmm. And it's my understanding that you're now collared to him as well as married. Is that correct?
Um, So, and here's the fun part. We haven't actually done the paperwork to get married,
Mm-hmm.
but there's like where we are, there's the de facto marriage. So if you live together long enough, you're technically considered married. And if you were to split up, you actually do have to go through a divorce.
Ah.
Um, but, but neither of us, again, because both of us have been married before, to me, it's just a piece of paper kind of a concept.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need that piece of paper. I'm not really one for jewelry. Do I like wearing the ring that shows that, I belong to him? When we go out, if we're taking pictures for something in particular, like Christmas cards or something. Um, I've got one I'll put on, but it's mine because I wore one for 10 years. To me, it's weird to not have it on, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I have one, but it's mine. He didn't give it to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, we have not officially, and then with the colored thing, we haven't officially had a colored ceremony of any kind. But again, that was one of those things that was discussed where it was, I don't need a ring. And to us, the color's more permanent. It's more of a commitment than a ring is, kind
Mm.
of a concept. It's a deeper connection to us.
Mm.
So we haven't had a ceremony in either aspect, but we both kind of consider that we are, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I'm interrupting us for 1 second because I can't help myself. If you want a voice you can keep, Phoenix is at callmephoenix.com. Her erotic audios are instant download.
I can tell you're the type who likes being told what to do. So do it. I obey Emma All caps, no spaces. Put that code in at callmephoenix.com and take $5 off an audio. Then come back and tell Emma she was right to send you.
Go to callmephoenix.com and use I Obey Emma for $5 off any audio. You heard her. Link is in the show notes. So what does the collar in particular represent to you psychologically?
A belonging.
Mm.
Again, that depends on the mindset, the owning, the belonging, the trust, because it's not a necklace, so it's tighter around the neck. So there's that implication of the closeness, I guess, because it sits so tight around your neck. Well, in my imagination, that is how it will fit. So it's that trust that I can let you put something around my neck that tight, and I know you're not going to hurt me, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we've chatted pretty in depth about your submissive self. You did mention that you have a bratty side, and this is a part of a submissive that can be somewhat misunderstood by a lot of people. Some people see it as resistance or, bitchy or some, other negative words that can be associated with it. So can you speak a little bit to that and perhaps what your bratty side is actually about?
So like you said, brats are usually looked down upon. Quite a few doms I've met, they loathe the brat. And then you've got others that they're the brat tamer. And I'm just like, yeah, that's not really, but you do you. So to me, I know who I can and can't brat with or let that bratty side out. I know where the lines are with different people, but I also know which lines I can press. I bend them, I'll curve them, but I don't typically break them, if that makes sense. I will, I'm that kid that you're not allowed to cross the street. So I will walk up and curl my toes over the edge of the sidewalk. I'm not in the street, but I am as close to it as I possibly can without breaking that rule. So my brat is I play pranks. I find loopholes in rules. I'm very good at the just one more kind of thing that kids do. I love trying to entice a punishment out. Um, but I also know I know where those lines are. I know who I can and can't do it with. I know who and I can and can't do it in front of. Because some people just think that I'm just being weird, whereas other people are like, "Oh God, she's doing the brat thing again."
Mm-hmm.
We have a friend. He is very misogynistic, is the best word I can think of, and we happened to be staying with him for a while. And I was making dinner for everybody. I was making chili, so I'm standing over the stove, blah blah yada yada, cooking, and I have to go to the restroom. So my partner happens to walk in. It's kind of like, "Can you just keep an eye on the stove while I run to the bathroom?" Well, this guy decides to kick in that my partner needs to make sure that my chain is long enough that I can get from the bed to the bathroom to the kitchen.
Oh.
Uh-huh. So, like I swear I have like, how some people you can tell what they're thinking based upon what their face does?
Mm-hmm.
I could see his face as I know my face changed, where he was like, "Oh God, it's gonna happen." And it was like just a switch. And I spun around and I don't even remember the comments I made to him, kind of a thing. But he didn't, like, everybody else that happened to be there that day, they were just like, "Oh my God, she's gonna destroy this guy." but I do it in a way that you don't actually know I'm doing it, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like he made some other comment. This was on a totally different day, and this one I remember clearly. He'd made some other comment about something sexual. And one of the other guys that was there said something. And again, I think I was in the living room at this time, and I turned around and I'm like, it was something about a carrot, I think, and going in an orifice of a female. And I was like, yeah, well, I mean, carrots are fun and all, but ginger's better. And he goes, well, why would you put ginger there? And I'm like, well, I mean, it's a whole thing, you know, you shape it to look like something maybe, and it goes in, it's kind of got that tingle. No, I've never actually done figging. I should point that out. But I read enough about it and I've talked to enough people who've done it that I basically know the concepts and the feelings that come with it. So I'm like, I'm explaining this to him, and I haven't looked in that direction. I'm still watching the television, honestly, I think. And at one point, it's like the room is so silent. I turn to look, and every other person there is just like mouth on floor, tongue rolled out. I can't believe you're saying this. And he's just looking at me like, I don't get it. What are you talking about? So that's what my brat does.
Mm.
And if I can get my partner is the brattiest dom I have ever met. It's even more fun if I can get him to brat with me and against other people. Like to me, that is my day is made. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Crown on head. We're done.
It sounds very playful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And now, I mean, I would consider that like my general brattiness. But there's times that like I can fall into the Sam category or the tame me category. And my partner we refer to that as like the world has just completely effed me off. And there are no lines at that point. Like the brat is just all of the filters have been removed, all of the lines have been removed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any restraints, kind of a thing.
Mm.
And I only recall ever having actually done this once with him, and the after effects were incredibly intense, wonderful, and I don't know if I'd live through doing it again. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But like that to me, that's a few and far between kind of a thing. For me, it's more the playful, it's the pranks, it's the just one more. Like, can we just watch one more episode? I know it's 11 o'clock. I know I've got to be up in 3 hours, but just one more kind of a thing. So, and again, I know where my lines are. I don't cross my lines.
Right. There are a couple of things.
That voice.
Yeah. There are a couple of things that you mentioned in there that I wanted to chat about more, because I don't think I've gone deeply into what being a brat is much on the podcast yet. So you mentioned that you quite often are bratty because you want to bring out a punishment. Can you explain what that actually means and give an example of what a punishment would be for you?
So, and this is kind of where the masochism comes in. To me, spankings are not a punishment. They are a punishment. And here's one of my other weirdnesses. A lot of my punishments, other people consider punishment.
Right.
Lines, for instance. I don't know why. I love it. Like, I was bratting with a friend of mine, and her dom walked in, and I don't remember what our conversation was, but all of a sudden I could just hear in the background, oh, so we're doing that. Okay, you've got 50 lines to do by the time I get home from the grocery store. He didn't give them to me, he gave them to her. But I did them with her because she got in trouble because of, in my interpretation, I was bratting with her. We were doing it together. If she has to go through the punishment, then so should I. But it's not a punishment to me. It's just fun. And I'm one of those weird ones where if you don't give me, again, this is part of that loophole thing. I could be getting a punishment, but I'll turn it into a punishment. You could give me lines, which again, I consider fun, but if you don't give me specifics, they have to be on this type of paper. They have to be printed. They have to be in cursive. You have to do them with a black pen. You have to do them in pencil. You cannot erase. If you make one mistake, you have to start over. And these are all things that I have heard other dominants have done with their submissives.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't have, like, again, this is that loophole thing. I will write you rainbow colored lines because I can.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's that concept of it's something, it's a punishment, but it's a fun punishment. It's someone who's kind of pushing on the lines of exhibitionism, but isn't quite sure if they're going to like it. So, for an example, their dom buys it fully covers you, but you have to wear the apron naked while we have company over.
Right.
It's a punishment, but it's a fun punishment.
Mm-hmm.
So that, I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
And you also mentioned that brat tamers aren't for you, which if someone's not in the world of brats, they might see, you know, these different labels and they might see someone's a brat, someone else is a brat tamer. Of course they go together. But you're saying that they're definitely not for you. Why not?
So, and again, this is in my opinion, and it's based on the few that I have run into and had conversations with. And I'll have conversations with people and they have no idea that I'm a brat. It's just because again, it's whether or not that comes out. I don't typically let it out with new people because I don't know how you're going to react to it. Because again, a lot of people look down on, loathe, just don't understand the brat. So kind of a concept. So if I encounter somebody who, and I'm going to air quote this, claims to be a brat tamer, it to me it's that, well, what does that mean to you? Like, what exactly is a brat tamer? Like, what do you do? And I will quiz them and try and figure out why they consider themselves that. And for the most part, generally, they like breaking brats.
Mm.
So then I sit there and go, I beg your pardon? Because now the brat's coming out, but you're gonna get the pissed off brat, not the fun brat. You like breaking brats. How does that work? Well, brats just want to be put in their place. Yeah, not all of us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it is what's going through my head. Yeah, no, I mean, there's a tiny, tiny little section of brats that the tamey brats. The tamey brats are definitely the put me in my place, prove to me that you are worth me kind of a brat. They will break lines. They will break the boundaries. They will push until, for lack of better wording, you pin them up against a wall and show them who's boss, kind of a thing. But again, that's a very small subsection of being a brat. And not many people are. Some people like just being slammed up against a wall, but they're not that prove to me that you're bigger than me kind of a brat. These particular brat tamers treat every brat that way.
Mm.
And some of them just want to have fun. Like, I don't, again, I have moments where I will kick into that taming, just show me who's boss. I've had a bad day. I need to disappear into my head and I need you to help me get there mentally, kind of a thing. So that's why I say brat tamers aren't for me. The concept of a brat tamer to me is, it's like a lion tamer. You never can actually tame the lion.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wild animal.
Mm. Yeah.
So to me, the brat tamer kind of falls into that. If you break a brat, you're basically breaking a person.
Mm.
To me, that's where abuse kind of sort of starts, because again, most brats want the fun. They don't want the prove to me you're better kind of a thing. So, but again, that's just the couple that I've spoken to and my interpretation of what they said. Some of them may, actually be in it for all the right reasons. And we can deal with brats where other doms can't. Like, technically, to contradict everything I've just said, my partner brats with me. Yeah. He accepts my brat. I would consider him a brat tamer because he knows where my lines are. I know where his are. He can keep me within those lines. And again, there's that voice. And I'm sure everybody knows that voice. And it's the one that says, if you don't stop, we're going to go from punishment to punishment and you're going to regret it. And I'm convinced that all dominants have it. And their particular submissives all know what it is. They know the difference between stop, excuse you, kind of a thing. Sometimes it's the word, it's not just the voice. So it's, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds to me like, for you don't want your brattiness taken away at all. You want it to be enjoyed and explored and celebrated.
Yeah. And that's one of those things that I don't think it's, oh, now I'm in the lifestyle. Oh, I'm this. I mean, that goes back to growing up. April Fool's was fun in my house. And we had I was living with my father at the time and my brother, and we had a male roommate. And this guy used to irritate me to the moon and back. And one April Fool's, I decided I was going to get him back. So I'd experimented with this because I was the only one that had a private bathroom. The three guys shared their own bathroom. So I practiced with this in my bathroom to make sure that it would work. If you take a water balloon and you fill it with food coloring and then you tie it off, and if you take the shower head off and you just kind of poke the water balloon into the pipe and then screw the shower head back on, the water pressure will pop the balloon and essentially you will give a person a food coloring shower. Now, this also works with lifesavers. The person thinks that they're getting clean, but all they're doing is basically showering in sugar water. And so essentially they're sticky for the whole day. These are things that I would do. So it's like clear back to being a teenager. I have been a brat. I just didn't know that's what it was called. Unfortunately, I got my brother with the food coloring, but that's a whole other ball of wax.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
But I mean, like one of the guys put saran wrap over the toilet to get one of the other guys. And I don't know which one of them did that. And then I did that. I didn't realize there was that much splashback with guys.
Oops.
Apparently they left a little dip in it so that you didn't get quite the splashback. I stretched it tight and apparently, yeah. But it wasn't my bathroom. So like, I'm not copping to that. Nope. Somebody else did it, not me. So, but again, I don't really differentiate between the kinky and the non-kinky because to me they blend together. What I do, the only part that I would differentiate out is anything actually sexually physical. That is obviously done behind closed doors.
Okay, fascinating. Thank you. That's such a deep dive into the brat, and I'm sure the listeners will enjoy that. So now I want to bring in a piece of research here that feels very relevant to how you speak about submission and strength. So sociologist Bauer wrote a book called Queer BDSM Intimacies, where they introduced the idea of critical consent. So instead of seeing consent as a checkbox, yes or no, they describe it as something that's living, something that's negotiated over time, shaped by power, trust, personal history, and self-knowledge. And what I love about this is that it challenges the idea that submission is passive. Instead, it frames it as deeply active, reflective, and ethical, especially for people who refuse simple roles such as yourself. So Bauer talks about consent as something that's ongoing rather than a moment in time. How does that idea show up in your own submission and collaring?
Oh, wow. I mean, for me, strength and weakness are kind of one of those, why is one good and one bad? Why
Mm,
can't kind of a concept. Um, so I guess I categorize strength and weakness in a very unique way. Um, I don't know how to phrase this. Um, I find that submitting is like relinquishing the reins I have over both the physical body, but also my mind, my self control. I find that it's hard to do unless you have that trust. It's because to me, I'm literally putting all of me in your hands to do what you want, but I have to know that what you want isn't going to harm me. And that's a physical and emotional or mental or psychological, if you want to throw that one in. Um, so I find that submitting is actually a strong thing. It's not a weakness.
mm,
Um, kind of a concept. I find strength in my weaknesses because I feel like I can't have one without the other. It's that balancing act. Um, so like when you cry, are you crying because you're happy? Are you crying because you're in pain? Are you crying because you're sad? Um, some people consider that a weakness. Again, when I grew up, males, were taught that crying is a weakness. You don't do that. I think that if I can cry in front of you or you can cry in front of me, there's a level of trust that you can show those weaknesses to somebody. And that's strength to me because you're able to be that weak in front of somebody else or with somebody else.
mm-hmm,
Does that make sense? I
mm-hmm.
think that answered the question.
Yeah, no, it definitely did. Thank you for that. I also wanted to bring in a quote that feels very alive in everything we've been describing. It comes from John
Mhm.
Dewey. He's an American philosopher and psychologist who believed that identity isn't something fixed. So he saw the self as something that forms through action, through what we do, what we survive, and what we consciously engage with over time. Now, he once wrote, "The self is not something ready made, but something in continuous formation." So when you hear that, how does it land in relation to your erotic identity, especially the way your submission, strength, and self has evolved rather than stayed fixed?
Oh, can you read the quote to me again?
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, it's okay. The self is not something ready made, but something in continuous formation.
I mean, I would have to completely agree with that. I don't feel like, and I think this kind of goes back to the nature versus nurture thing. I
Mm,
don't think that we are who we are when we're born. Different experiences, different um, environmental factors, how you were raised. It's almost like the world is the hands and you're the clay, but you're never actually put into the kiln.
mm,
So you can constantly be molded and certain experiences. I don't know if you've ever done like pottery or anything like with a clay wheel. I
mm-hmm,
don't know actually what it's called. The wheel that spins that you put the clay on. Um, if you touch the clay just wrong because of how malleable it is, um, you can topple the whole thing. So certain experiences could topple whatever you as you're being molded and created. Certain experiences could topple you, certain experiences could crack you. But to me, it's, can you then pick yourself back up? Can you find the strength to figure out why that did that, what did that, and how do we move on from it so that we can begin reshaping, remolding? Well, that didn't work, so let's try it this way. Or we went a little thin here, so maybe we need a little less pressure on this side and or more pressure on that side to make it equal so it doesn't topple. Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think we're fully formed. I think we are malleable and ever evolving from birth to death.
Mm. I absolutely love that metaphor. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm going to keep that in the back of my mind and, yeah, call on that when I need it. So thank you.
Yeah.
Now, you've said that you've faced darkness throughout your life and fought your way back and now find peace in silence. What role has erotic surrender played in your survival?
I don't necessarily know if it's like the submission or anything that maybe plays a part in that. My ex was he was emotionally, mentally, psychologically abusive. And there were quite a few things that I went through with him that quite literally broke me. And it took me a while to accept myself again, because he basically broken me down and then tried to build me back up the way he wanted me. So it's and I still struggle with some of it. It's figuring out what he tweaked, what he changed. And I look at it more as like an airbrushing. So if you've got a picture, this is the picture of how you see yourself. He didn't just like rip the picture up and put a whole new picture in. It's almost like he made it fuzzy and then only brought back certain portions of it into clarity. So for me, it's, and then certain ones like he changed. So again, if you think of like a picture of a person, this person is blonde with green eyes. But when he brought certain pieces back into focus, this person is now got purple hair and red eyes. But you, as the person that this has happened to, you don't necessarily notice where the changes are, even though to other people they are blatantly obvious. So for me, it's been a, where did those changes happen? What were they? And how do I don't necessarily say fix, but how do I mute them or make them a little less sharp, or try to, I don't know, like dyeing your hair. Certain hair color is permanent, certain hair color is temporary. Certain, like with the temporary one, it goes in, you wash it and it's just gone. It goes in, it takes like 10 washes and it's gone. Or it goes in and it is there until your hair grows out and you cut the color off, kind of a concept. So it's figuring out where those changes are, what they were, and how to get them to go back, or at least as closely back to where they were when I started. So for me, it's that is kind of like my darkness. It's because he changed so much of me. I had no concept of who I was anymore when I got out. So it was kind of relearning myself, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. A reclamation as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay, so let's move on to some more fun questions. As
Okay.
part of our conversation today, I asked you to bring along something to share, such as a quote, book, or a movie that's influenced your eroticism. You did mention Snow White already. I'm curious to hear if it's that or if you've brought along something else.
And so, and this was one of those, it was a Sleeping Beauty trilogy by
Oh,
Anne
Sleeping
Rice.
Beauty. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you've read it, is that it actually used to be a trilogy. It has recently, I think it was in 2015, 2016, somewhere around there. She actually wrote a fourth one, so it's now a quartet. I have not read the fourth one yet, but I have it in my book app. Um, Again, books are like my drug. So, I'll bounce from like I found that, which then led me to not East of Eden, Exit to Eden, which is also by Anne Rice, although I think she was writing under a pen name for that one, but it's now come out. Certain people will like throw authors at me and I don't even know what they write. And I'll read one and I'll be like, huh, I kind of like this. What else have they done? Um, One person sent me on a path for like Red Phoenix. Lucia Jordan is a new one that I have found that I absolutely love her stuff. Um, I have read a few of the 35. I have read a few of, there are 35 of the John Norman books. The, oh, I always say this wrong, Tarnsman. It's the Gore books. It's a saga. I've read a few of those. So picking a book was really hard for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I went more with a quote, and my quote is by Tig Notaro, and it says, I get kind of bored by all the sexuality and gender labels because I feel that's where the problem comes. When people feel that they need to have these particular identities, if you didn't have these labels and you just acted on how you genuinely felt at any point, then you wouldn't have anything to contend with.
Mm. Mm.
No, I picked that one. I had, so I'm gonna give two. And then we were watching Criminal Minds. Have you ever seen that show?
I have, yeah, not for a while, but I definitely have seen it.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so every episode they start with a quote and they end with a quote. And I wasn't even paying attention to what that particular episode was about. But I'd sort of tuned back in right at the end. And the quote that they gave was by Francois de la Rochefoucauld. And it says, we're so accustomed to disguise ourselves to others that in the end, we become disguised ourselves. And then I'm like, no, I can't pick between the two because that one's kind of like, it hits with everything too.
Mm-hmm.
So I apologize. I have two.
No, don't apologize at all. They're both fascinating. So thank you for sharing them. And they definitely make sense for everything you've shared about yourself. I see why they speak for you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they really do.
Mm-hmm. So another fun question. I'm curious to hear from you about a peak erotic experience that you've had, a moment that's really stuck with you throughout your journey.
Okay, so okay, I got one. This kind of plays into that the one time I remember kicking into that tame me aspect of being a brat. Um, my partner and I were still in different places, like on the globe, in different countries. So at that particular time, everything was either a voice call or a video call. Um, and we would do, the good morning wake up calls. So he would wake me up right before he was going to bed, and then I would wake him up like when I got off work, and then we'd be on the phone until I needed to go to bed, kind of a concept. Um, and I remember I'd had a particularly horrid day at work. And I don't even remember what that horridness was. I just remember when I didn't call him when I got off work, because normally I'd call and we'd talk in the car on my way home. I was so mad I didn't even call him until I'd gotten home. So he was already like, did you get caught at work late? Like, you're calling me later than normal, kind of a thing. Um, And when the call finally connected, I remember the best way I can describe it is I was a raging, over the top, complete bitch. And I think I went off on him, and it's one of those, you're pissed at the world, but this person is the first one to talk to you. So you kind of take it out on them. And I'm fairly certain that is what I did. Now, because he had no idea what had happened, and because, I beg your pardon, you're just going to start a phone call with ranting and raging and basically yelling at me, that voice came out. And again, everybody knows that voice. It's the one that says, we're not playing. And if you don't stop, you are going to be in so much trouble. So obviously the voice comes out and it's like everything it's almost like a switch flips, right? Because I'm having such a bad day, but then that voice, and it's like, oh, okay, what I do? What am I doing? What do I need? Like, where are we going with this? I'm sorry, kind of a thing. So I because I read so much, I kind of have like allurism or natterophilia. I'm very mental with a lot of my kinks. So him talking to me over the phone, all he has to do is give me instructions. So it's lie on your bed, lie this direction. In that particular moment, it was starfish style. So basically, feet at the corners at the bottom and hands at the corners at the top. And I don't even have to be tied down. It's if I'm told not to move, I don't move because that's what he told me to do. And then again, because I've got that mental, and I can close my eyes and everything he says, I can literally imagine happening to me. So I can see in my head everything that's happening. I can feel every caress, every pinch, every stroke, kind of a thing. He has 3 words and we found this one out on accident. I think the first time he did it, I was doing dishes and my parents were sitting in the living room watching television. And my parents had gotten used to basically just me being on the headset, looking like I was talking to myself. So me standing there at the sink doing dishes and talking, they were normal with. And I think I made some comment, this, that, or the other. And he said these 3 little words, which neither of us, again, knew this was going to happen. And I made a very, very big mess and literally fell on my knees. So it came to our attention that I don't even have to be in the mood, and 3 little words from him and I'm on my knees and a jittery mess. So in this instance, following directions and words are said. But again, there's certain ways he can say them. There's certain other things. So it's no, that's enough, harder kind of a thing. Or like if you're over the top, okay, well, you're going to feel a soft one kind of a thing. And like verbally, he can kind of work me through an orgasm, if that makes sense. So in this particular instance, I lost count.
Wow.
Sometimes he makes me count. And I lost count to the point that, like, I remember the euphoria that came after and the altered mental state that I slipped into. Some people call it subspace. I remember like the full body exhaustion. And again, because I'm on the headset, there's the sweet words that come after as you're coming down. But that was the first time, and from my knowledge, the only time I've ever done that, and where he's pushed me to the point that I don't actually fully remember everything. So it's we both kind of learned something about each other, ourselves in that, and yeah.
It sounds amazing.
So, yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that peak erotic experience. Once again, it demonstrates that people can have, such an incredible experience without necessarily being physically touched or even physically near their partner, which is fascinating to hear about.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I really do believe that our brains, our biggest sexual organ,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I personally think that the most powerful orgasms a person can experience are without physical contact.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it seems to be a running theme so far in the show that happens quite a lot, especially for kinksters. Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've listened to those ones yet. Again,
Oh.
I think I've only listened to maybe like a dozen of them so far, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
still
Mm-hmm.
I'm still listening.
Mm-hmm. Yep, more to explore.
Yep.
So we've covered a lot so far today. Is there anything else that you would like to share? Is there a particular topic that we didn't talk about that you wanted to speak to, or a message for people listening, or something that we might have
Um,
missed?
I wouldn't necessarily say we missed something. I would like to thank you for this podcast because I think this platform and what you're doing is absolutely fabulous for helping educate both people inside the lifestyle and also people outside who may also be listening to it. Um, just because the way I was taught is considered very old school. Um, so I had to learn from the beginning the practices. Like I learned about leather and the old guard. We moved into the new guard, but I mean, it went back to like how far back do these practices go into, like Rome and England, into Europe or India and China, kind of a thing. Um, and I'm finding recently that a lot of people don't have or don't want to learn those things. And in my opinion, it's kind of dangerous for people to have that lack of knowledge or training. Um, because again, if something is done wrong, like shibari, if a knot is put in the wrong place, you can cut off circulation to a limb. It can cause injuries if um a flogger is used wrong, if a cane is used wrong. There's certain places on the body that you can't hit, or there's certain places on the body that like you wouldn't want to do any kind of electric stimulation or play with needles, for instance. And I kind of feel like a lot of people, the newer people or whatnot, they're they don't have um a knowledge of like those bedrock principles. Um, they were never taught like the pillars or a lot of the safety protocols, limits or what they are or who can have them, um, safe words, triggers, um, protocols. They don't have that understanding, so they go to events and break all these rules and then feel like I'm gonna rationalize or not rationalize. We're being mean to them because they've broken rules, but they didn't want to learn the rules that they then broke.
Mm-hmm.
But it's our fault because we're the ones who kicked them out, kind of a thing. So I feel like the education behind it, the training is breaking down with
Mm.
the newer people to the scene. So back to the original, your platform, I absolutely love how it's with everybody talking about their journey and their kinks. People can learn the different things, or like I mentioned something and you go, people might not know what that is. Can you like explain that to us? So it's that educational thing for me. I love it. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for being a part of it. I really appreciate you sharing your erotic realm with everyone. Now, to finish our conversation, I just wanted to have you think about your journey and everything you've explored up until this point, and think about one word that describes your erotic self. I know it may be hard.
No, so again, listening to the podcast, I knew this one was coming. So I kind of been doing this from like knowing that this question was coming. I have run through a gamut list of different possibilities. I mean, everything from it's just special, it's fluid, it's, unique, it's versatile. The one I think I finally landed on that, and one of it is just I really like saying the word, but the other one is I do feel like it does describe it, is idiosyncratic. I feel like kind of encompasses all of the others that I had run through before I got to it, if that makes sense. So yeah, idiosyncratic is where I'm going to. That is my one word.
And what does that mean again? Because it's not a very common word. So some people might be like, what does she mean by that?
So idiosyncratic is it's distinctive. It's it is unique. It's unparalleled. But it's still also slightly versatile. So it does do that changing and that the fluidity. So it's kind of, again, it encompasses all those other words that I run through. And so, yeah.
Yeah, love it. Well, Snow, thank you for sharing your erotic realm and for speaking so clearly about strength, surrender, and for offering a model of erotic identity that refuses simplification, and for showing how paradox can be lived with integrity.
Yeah. I did find, I think it's on my profile again. My partner and I came up with this, and I feel like like what you just said. I'm a paradoxical legend of intricate enigmas wrapped in a sophisticated conundrum, filled with obscure double entendre and covered in caramel euphemisms and sprinkled with honeyed metaphors.
Beautiful.
And I was like, where we were writing it, and I'm like, you do realize that we just described an ice cream sundae. I mean, you're sweet, so I like it. So, but like you said, I think everybody's paradoxical, essentially. They just need to find it.
Well, I think that's a good place to leave it. So it's been a pleasure to chat with you, Snow. Thank you.
Yes, it has. Thank you for having me.
I'm Em, and this has been the Erotic Realm podcast. Thank you for listening to the Erotic Realm. If this episode stirred something in you, please take a moment to follow the show, leave a rating, or write a review on wherever you're listening. It helps more people find the show and brings visibility to this deeper conversation about eroticism and self-understanding. I'd also like to invite you to dive deeper into the psychology of desire, including my writing, research, and upcoming courses over at psychologyofdesire.com. And if you want the full experience, join thousands of curious minds on my Substack at psychologyofdesire.substack.com. This is where I release the Psychology of Desire case files, behind-the-scenes thoughts, and intimate reflections every week, plus more. Until next time, stay curious, stay embodied, and keep exploring. Also, as always, stay perverted.